Right. Speaking first is a sign of weakness, is it? And here I thought I could avoid wading into the swamp of corporate pretend power dynamics. Silence is only awkward if you care. I could ignore social cues all day long. I always liked this time of day. Not too muggy for you? No, I never liked a clear blue sky. It always seemed cold to me. You're in luck. The sky gets more colorful every year as the air quality drops. Childish, isn't it? Marveling at the small sheen of rainbow dancing on the surface of a massive oil spill. Apologies for waxing poetic. It's been a very unusual 24 hours around here. Dr. Young. Just Miss is fine. Miss Young. I get the feeling you didn't bring me up here to talk about the weather. No, I brought you up here to express my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you. Well, I could say the same. I know you and David worked together for many years. Yes, we did, but as much as I'd like to just drop everything and process, the company wheels don't stop spinning for anything. Or anyone. Was Dawes of any help? She sent him, trying to be helpful, or just trying to control the narrative? He was great! But that must mean you know why I'm here. I don't want to make assumptions. No need. I'll be explicit. I'm here as an officer of the court, which means I'm bound by law to document every rock I turn over, and every person I speak to. Yes, the lawyers made that all very clear. Lawyers? You have an android. It's not one of ours. You can tell that quickly. Got all the faces memorized. It's easy enough to remember the major archetypes we use, yes. If you're nuts about your work, maybe. It's a recent acquisition. Very recent, in fact. One of David's last requests, apparently. David asked you to take it? I've been told that you've been to David's estate already. The police gave me full access to the scene. Then you know that he wasn't alone last night. Yes, there was a single witness who met with him and called emergency services when he fainted. I was that witness. Really? Obviously. There aren't that many people David would bother meeting with in person, let alone welcoming them into his home and offering them a drink. I also know that Young is his superior, on paper, though not in fame, and I knew that the witness had Executive Plan 3 insurance, they had to be higher up than David. Well then, do your lawyers know we're having the conversation? Of course. They're pulling their hair out about it as we speak. I can't imagine why. The police cleared you. And you are well within your rights to ask for some privacy, given the high-profile nature of all that's happened. So why call me up here? Why cut through all the red tape your lawyers painstakingly hid you behind? Eventually you, or some clever lawyer like you, will get the record opened, through legal means or otherwise. The company's enemies are legion, and they have a prying knife for every occasion. Still, that would have taken time. Time you could use to get ahead of what could be the biggest PR hurdle Noble's ever seen. Touché. And... so perhaps the truth of the matter is that I simply didn't want to hide. David was my colleague for several years. If I were in your shoes, I would have questions as well. Are you doing this for my sake? No, my reasons are purely selfish. I'm only hoping that talking to someone whose job isn't to defend me from all consequences might prove therapeutic. If she wants to play confessional, that's fine by me. But is that really all that's going on here? Why don't you start from the beginning, then? You went to his home last night? Yes, at around 7:30 p.m. The building's penumbra captured all of that quite clearly. He fell ill around 8 p.m., so you spent half an hour together. Why the late call in person? We had an intense discussion yesterday afternoon. Dave never came in on Saturdays, and I didn't want to spend the weekend glaring at him through screens, so I visited, and he let me in, and we talked about the good old days, if you can believe that. Back when we were both new to the company, eager to make a name for ourselves. How long ago was that? 7 or 8 years ago? Miss Young? Putting on a number on it, it doesn't sound that long ago, but it feels... It's been a while like that, just talking. He was lively and sharp, and I never would have thought that a few minutes later that he would be dead. That he would commit suicide in front of me. Firm reply. What happened? 8:15, he said he wanted to toast. He got up, walked back into his workshop, and then he must have went down into his basement to get us a bottle. I checked some messages in the meantime, enjoyed the view. In other words, she stayed on camera. He came back with a bottle of whiskey and 2 plastic cups. We drank and talked. He got quieter, spoke less. I thought he was just getting drunk. I didn't get worried until he'd started to fall asleep. You tried to wake him? He wasn't responding. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't seem... I left him and ran to the kitchen to use the security system. Didn't think to use your phone? No, I suppose I didn't. But it worked out. The number's emergency protocol summoned a VTOL straight to his helipad with 1 button press. When I returned to the parlor, he was limp. I moved him to the floor as delicately as I could. He had a heartbeat, but I just did what I could until they arrived. You went with them to the hospital, I take it? Yes, they insisted. They checked my vitals and ran a talk screen, which came back clean. So did David's, for all the good it did him. I wasn't paying close attention to what they were saying at that point, but I'm sure they ran through every step of the CCE SOP. That's what they're paid to do. You seem certain that it was suicide. Yes. Why? As I said, he got quieter as the time passed and he spoke less. But the last thing he said to me, the last clear thing he said, was that he was happy ending it here. Said he was content. And he downed his glass after that. He drank every last drop. Does that sound like David Osher to you? Curious, restless, perfectionist David? No, I guess it doesn't. You said CCE Standard Operating Procedure a moment ago. What is that? CCE stands for Counter-Corporate Espionage, which is just industry doublespeak for corporate espionage. Only used in self-defense, you understand? So Noble anticipates employees at your level getting poisoned. They give us all kinds of CCE training. Subtly, of course, usually disguised on the itinerary as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations. They train you to expect to get murdered at these leadership workshops. Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely they'll want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources in a hospital bed while our position sits vacant. That's smart, like snipers purposely avoiding vital areas to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's terrible! Like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas in order to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's nothing compared to when they want to turn an asset. Feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosable malady? Or become our mole and we'll send you the antidote every 2 weeks. That's a nasty piece of work. It's a nasty line of work. Consulting. I'm sorry. That's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spy on your CV. So every consultant I met at a cocktail party was actually... It depends. Did they say that they're consultants? Or did they say they were in consulting? What the hell am I supposed to remember? So do your people think that what happened to David was a deliberate attack? Noble's competitors have been trying to get to David for years, and that's the timescale their plans operate on. If this was an attack from a rival corporation, the company would have seen it coming, and they'd probably have struck first. I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups? There's a story there. David and I got hired around the same time under similar circumstances. Headhunted while finishing our higher education. During recruiting, the company claimed to want us badly, but in practice our actual authority was inexperienced and overpaid. You must have been extremely unpopular. You don't mince words. We didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince our superiors that their entire sales model for androids was antiquated and self-defeating. The two of them made the one-point doctrine? That's not the story I've heard in noble commercials and noble sponsored media. Come to think of it, it's not a story I ever heard from David himself. We had this deadline, self-imposed, but still a deadline. We wanted to get our pitch to the president of international sales by end of day. 7 p.m. rolls around and people start filtering out. David still has his head buried in diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. The clock hits 9 o'clock and even the zombies start heading home. I turn to David, tell him that it's not going to happen. We're nowhere near finished and the day's long since been over. He looked at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat and I've just stopped pitching water and says, "The president lives on the other side of the globe. We've still got all night until his end of day." We wrapped up at 4 in the morning. Just us and the cleaning staff. Back then only half of them were rats. He finally sends the message and I'm ready to collapse. I've got nothing. We stared blankly at his inbox for the next 40 minutes, hoping that the harsh light would give us the energy to work through the next day. We got a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. I'd been turned down so many times before then, ignored and placated, passed up and ghosted. But together, David and I, we had finally gotten a win. So David asks if I've got anything to drink. I've got a bottle of some swill in a cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle, since he wants to toast. So we sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka to one another in cups we grabbed from the break room. Toasting our first victory against the corporate beast. Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell. Sounds like a good memory. Plastic cups and liquor, that was our little ritual. So I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. It was ceremony for us. As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you? That's correct. Didn't you join the company at around the same time? David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't like playing the corporate politics game. So was he unpopular around here? Not unpopular, no. Not the great Dr. David Osher. Misunderstood, perhaps. How so? He could be blunt, demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be, it's just not everyone could work at the same pace as he did, for as long as he did. Even with the whole company having those inhalers, they couldn't keep pace with David. Speaking of which, I don't see any at Young's desk. Maybe it's just not something you leave out in the open at her level. So you would say that his work-life balance was... Balance implies the two are at odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company. Fascinating. So was he in harmony? No, David always had plenty of suitors, but he was never willing to put the time in. But I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on that subject. Right. What do you mean? I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for misunderstandings and double bookings. Scandalous. The A16 only entered production this year, correct? Correct. Pre-orders started last holiday and we began shipping in the first quarter. I understand that you were instrumental in the success of Warm Androids. I played my part supervising the launch, yes. Weren't you the one who designed Cinetone, the factor that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts? I'm surprised you've heard of that. I did lead that project, yes, but that was years ago. At the time, Cinetone was little more than a novelty, a dead end. It wasn't until David took the reins on the A16 that we found a use for it. Took the reins? He was lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters, and he designed the synthetic nerves that made all of that possible. David did all of that. That's a lot more than just programming. Was he always so gifted in that many fields? Did he fill those roles in the A14 or A15? No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as a software architect. That was his field of expertise, and he didn't wander far. But 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting in other departments, taking notes. Soon he was joining the discussion, proposing new ideas, and eventually they came to follow his lead. Just like that. Just like that. So he just applied himself, and soon he was leading other departments. That's the kind of genius that Dr. David Osher was. Maybe they weren't paying him enough. The company profited the most, of course, but the entire industry benefited from his vision and leadership. His loss will be felt for years. So this android, Sarah. Even Dawes couldn't find any real details on where it came from. It's not in any of our systems? I'm afraid not. Did David ever talk to you or anyone else at the company about a pet project? Pet? No, he never gave me any indication like that. And if he didn't talk to me about it, I seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher on the chain than himself, and anyone below him. Frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him advice. He never mentioned me? No, never. Androids don't come cheap. You never heard about him requisitioning parts or resources? There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card? The company's accountants are mirthless, even by industry standards. They wouldn't humor anybody. Not even David Osher. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, there would have been an uproar loud enough you could hear it in the mailroom. You have a mailroom? Not since the 30s. Just a figure of speech. He couldn't have taken resources from the company without leaving a record. But no one would deny Dr. David Osher information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, with enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself. I don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah. He wasn't doing anything illegal, except the hacking stuff. So why keep it a secret? I don't know. But he was private, and a perfectionist. Perhaps he simply wasn't proud of his results. Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure this has been a difficult day for you. A difficult day for all of us. Message from Fran. Running out of Lisa Chase, the brat better have good news. Are you really going to take this to court? That's my plan. The circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from a criminal charge. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty of what he's been accused of. And is that what you believe? That he didn't commit suicide? Guess I haven't decided what I believe. Would you kindly slow the hell down? I'm sorry, Adonai. Was I walking too quickly for you? That wasn't walking. That was speed walking. Up 2 flights of stairs. It's very different. Speed walking. Sounds like a powerful technique. Is it like the Zhenjiao? Just let me catch my breath for a minute. Adonai, is it possible that you are out of shape? No. But since we left the cab, your heart rate has not wearing the right clothes or the right shoes. Is that so? Yes. Also, I didn't stretch or hydrate, and the sun was reaching its zenith. That would have been several hours ago. Do you mean the air temp? You said it would be a short walk from street level, so I prepared myself mentally for a short walk. Then you took off like a rocket, and you didn't mention we'd have to go upstairs. Are you sure this place is even back here? The reviews online were quite clear. It's worth the trouble finding it. Maybe if you're a mountain climber. When I sent Fran hunting for a musician in David's circles, I expected them to bring me someone from the city orchestra or a jazz club. The champagne, flute, and teacup kind of musician. But this is the tequila and neon part of town. It should be in view if we turn... Autumnite, be careful. Of what? It's a stray, and it's baring its fangs, too. It could be carrying diseases. You should... relax. Autumnite, it's growling. It's not growling at me. See? So it's just me that it doesn't like. Too much static. Don't you get it to calm down? It's an animal, not a monster. It wants to be calm. Do you like animals? What kind of cold-blooded freak doesn't like animals? Do you have a pet? No, never have. Why not? Because I don't want to take care of a pet. It seems counterintuitive to me. Well, it makes perfect sense to me, and I don't need it to make sense to you. But, you notice you're only this talkative when it's just the two of us? Just an observation. You shy or something? Did David program you to have android anxiety? It's generally only appropriate to respond to comments that are addressed to oneself. Today I have rarely been addressed directly by people, other than you. In other words, you're shy. That is not what I... Can I try petting it? There's no law against it.